Sovol Zero is apparently the fastest 3D printer out there across all CoreXY machines, but are these claims true? Can you actually print at 1200 mm per second in reality? And the key question is, at what cost can you achieve such speeds? Looking at the specs, it is a super capable yet small 3D printer, with a build volume of being just over 152 mm cubed, and it's also committed to open source philosophy, with the Zero being based in Klipper. It has auto bed leveling, full linear rails, camera, Wi-Fi, and a bunch of other modern features. So let's unbox this fastest 3D printer and see what it's all about. Sovol Zero came well packaged and there was no shipping damage. It was a deceptively small box because the whole thing probably weighs around 20 kilograms. I did like how the whole box was almost the same size as my Centauri Carbon. By the way, I recorded the whole unboxing video, but the sound came out kinda crappy, so I'm doing a voice over it. Besides the printer, the package included the instruction manual, the filament spool holder, the filament runout sensor, and a few other goodies. Assembly was straightforward. I had to attach the screen to a couple of cables, then screw in the spool holder, then run the PTFE tube from the side into the printer itself. They have this strange connector midway through the PTFE tube. I'm not sure why they included it and why not just run a single tube throughout. Maybe it is to separate out the line and help retrieving the filament that already ran out and is past the sensor. I'm not sure. When I put it all together, I had the chance to appreciate this little Voron 3D printer clone. One thing I really liked is that they included special panels underneath so that carrying it is super easy. I wish more printers had it. The other thing I also liked is the amount and the type of ports available. So we have 2 USB slots, then Ethernet and 1 HDMI. At this price point, I think that's a very generous amount of options. Having said that, one design feature that I was not keen on was Sovol including the power cord on the left side. It takes up extra few inches of valuable space, and I wish they were able to have it on the right side since it has available dead space due to the spool holder. One thing that I noticed is the difference in the build plate dimensions. For some reason, I found it pretty funny to see the difference between the Centauri Carbon PEI sheet and the one of the Zero. Another design decision that you need to be mindful of is the screen. Sovol Zero comes with an old-fashioned Ender-style knob-operated screen. Navigating with it is okay and it does work, but it's definitely a blast from the past and a rarity in new 3D printers these days. Having said that, I do appreciate that Sovol had to cut costs somewhere for this printer, so the screen is one of the obvious areas. On the flip side, they do sell a possible upgrade, a Klipper touchscreen for Zero for $70. After the assembly, I loaded up the filament and got to connecting the Zero to my Wi-Fi network. And this is where my problems began. I followed the instructions by populating this config file with my network details, and it simply wouldn't connect. I tried everything. I renamed my network, I split it into 2.4 and 5 GHz bands, I even unscrewed the back panel to check that the Wi-Fi cable was connected correctly, which it was. Finally, after spending almost 2 hours on this issue, I managed to resolve it by connecting the Sovol Zero to my network via Ethernet and then enabling the Wi-Fi through the nmtui command. I made a whole video on how to do it, but it was a very frustrating experience. This trivial step usually takes a couple of minutes on other printers, and it shouldn't be any different with a Zero. One positive outcome of this experience was that Sovol Zero is running Klipper, so I could easily SSH into the printer and run CLI commands directly through it, which is a big plus of running printers on open source software, unlike some other flagships that limit this functionality. And the benefit of running almost stock Klipper is that we get access to Mainsail, not some watered-down UI like we do with Centauri Carbon, but a full dashboard with full control over the printer and its configuration. This is a big thumbs up from me. To slice your models for the Zero, Sovol recommends using Orca Slicer, which is another big positive in my books. I really hate that every 3D printing brand out there has its own reskinned fork of the slicer, oftentimes with their inferior or outdated features. There is Elegoo Slicer, Creality Print, and others. Just give us your profiles for Orca Slicer and call it a day. On this note, I did see that Sovol offered limited nozzle size profiles. It only has 0.4 mm option. It would have been nice to see other options here. Starting with PLA, I printed this 152 mm squared single-layer model to test the bed leveling and the Z offset. I expected the bed leveling to take a few minutes, but in reality it took a few seconds and I was actually blown away by it. It maps the bed using the eddy current sensor and it has been the best bed leveling experience I ever had, quick and reliable. As for the print, it came out good. The model was a single piece of plastic and the layers were even as well, with only minor curls on the edges due to my greasy fingerprints. And then I proceeded with some calibrations, like printing this retraction tower, a couple of runs of these flow rate blocks, temperature tower, tolerance blocks, and a few others. I made some minor adjustments to the slicer based on these results to improve the future quality of the prints. After the calibrations, I printed this torture toaster. It came out decent, but the tolerances were awful. Like none of these sliders on the side worked since they got welded together. The handle works okay, and the side panels work fine. It took about 4.5 hours to print, whereas the same model took 4 hours and 50 minutes to print on starry carbon. We'll do a deeper dive into speeds in a bit. Then I printed a few other test models. The overhangs look good, there were some minor wisps in the prints, and the detail was a bit all over the place in other prints. When I was changing filament from PLA to PETG, I realized that there was no poop chute, like in my starry carbon. So the previous filament will get extruded in the top left corner, and you'll need to scoop it up yourself. This is not a big deal for me, but it's something that has been resolved in other 3D printers. As I was using the Sovol Zero, I noticed that the purge line would always be in a different place, just above the model. I got used to the purge line being longer, but also always in a fixed spot, so removing it is easier. Again, it's not a big deal, but it's kind of an annoying design decision, where pretty much every other 3D printer out there has a standardized way of dealing with purge lines. When I was printing with PETG, I started to get some strange extrusion issues in certain parts of the models. Like some models looked like they were under extruding, or maybe it was to do with temperatures, I'm not sure. I did try to fix it by adjusting temperatures, speeds and flow ratio, but still the same result. Mind you, these models printed fine on my starry carbon, so I don't think it's the fault of the filament. I couldn't troubleshoot it any further, so I moved to testing the next material, which is flexibles. The TPU of choice is this Overture 95A. I've been using it for over 5 years now, and it has been a good friend for me. Unfortunately, similar to my PETG issues, Zero struggled with TPU as well. My first benchy came out with a strange texture that made it seem out-extruded. Again, I began troubleshooting steps and calibration. I printed the temperature tower, which confirmed that I was using the right temperatures. And then I printed these flow test tabs, the speed of which between 20 and 30 mm per second. They came out good, but the texture was still there. Finally, I printed this VFA tower that started with 20 mm per second and then ended with 100 mm per second. It came out with issues as well. Before you blame the filament, here's the same model being printed with the same TPU, but this time with starry carbon, and the surface quality is way better. At this point, I have given up trying to print with flexibles with the Zero. Then I wanted to see how Sovol Zero would print with ABS. The first couple of prints, I had problems with layer adhesion. I found that the benches would get unstuck during printing. To troubleshoot this, I checked that the special panel that keeps the chamber temperatures was on. I also washed the plate with soap. And finally, what worked for me was to increase the brim width. The bench came out good, and I printed a couple of these plant trays. There is no active chamber heating with the Sovol Zero, but I did find that the chamber temperatures would stay around 50°C after a few minutes of printing. I think it's mostly due to having a smaller build volume. Let's talk about the fastest 3D printer claim. Throughout my testing, I found that Sovol Zero is indeed an insanely fast 3D printer, and I found that in general, it printed 5 to 15% faster than my other printers. We can compare the speed settings in Orca Slicer for the Zero and starry carbon, and you'll notice that for many parameters, the speeds of the Zero are almost double of the Elegoo printer. So while I cannot confirm the world's fastest 3D printer claim, I can say it is faster than I ever experienced at 3D printer printing. However, the cost of these insane speeds is quality. Even after I calibrated and used high-speed PLA and PETG, I still received subpar results when it comes to the finish of the models. What is the point of being fast when the print quality suffers? To me, this trade-off isn't worth it. The other cost of the speed is noise. Now we know that fast 3D printers are generally loud, and they kind of have to be this way. Both the motors and the fans have to work hard to keep up with the speeds. I would say that the Zero is loud and probably the loudest when printing PETG and ABS. Here's a little snippet of how it sounds when in action. Let's talk about who this printer was really for. So I think there are two groups of people who the Sovol Zero would be ideal for. The first group would be folks who want a Voron 3D printer but do not want to go through the hassle of building one themselves from a kit or risk buying a project from eBay. So buying a pre-built Sovol Zero, which is almost a clone of Voron 0.2, is kind of a shortcut. It is close to plug-and print as possible for a Voron printer. This marketing approach is obvious, especially when you're searching for Voron 0.2, and the top two results feature Sovol Zero. The second group of people who I think the Zero would be for is somebody who wants a secondary printer. Perhaps this person already has a regular size 3D printer with 256 build volume, they don't always need it, and they want a faster 3D printer that prints smaller parts, and maybe they also want to get into engineering-grade filaments like ABS and ASA that would benefit from a smaller chamber. On the other side of the target user, I don't think Sovol Zero is a good first printer or one for 3D printing beginners. In my experience, it requires a fair amount of tuning and calibration, plus Klipper can be a bit overwhelming at times, and offer optimizations that you probably don't care about if you're just starting out in this hobby. Let's take a look at the top 3 things that I liked and disliked about the Sovol Zero, starting with the positives. Number 1, the build quality is great. Linear rails, the motors, the extruder, and the overall assembly gives it a premium feel. For under $300, I think it's impressive that they managed to get all these parts. Number 2, it is a fast CoreXY printer and it delivers on the advertised speeds and accelerations. In general, I found that the Sovol Zero was faster than my other CoreXY printers. Number 3, it is based on Klipper and is open source, so you can SSH into the Zero without having to mess around with rooting the device, or trying to hack your way around the closed source firmware or some strange fork of Klipper. Now we should talk about the negatives. Number 1, the print quality was all over the place for me, across all the filaments I tested. Now you might think that this is the fault of the filament, but I managed to have good quality prints with my other 3D printer. So I either got a bad unit with the Zero, or it needs way more tuning that I'm prepared to invest into it. Which brings me into negative number 2. Sovol Zero is not a beginner-friendly printer. It requires a fair amount of tuning and tinkering to make it work with the main filaments out there. If you're into that, that's great, but don't expect a plug-and-print experience. Number 3. Setting up the Wi-Fi was frustrating and a lengthy experience. I guess this is partly because it uses the old-fashioned knob and screen instead of a touchscreen. In summary, Sovol Zero is one of the fastest 3D printers I ever played with. However, I was kind of disappointed that the cost of the speed was print quality, even after my many attempts at calibrating this little 3D printer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.